Raboisai, welcome back to Yerushalmi Shabbos. We are page Shvi Halacha base, which is roughly Nun Gimel Amud base, right? So now we are in Klal Gadol, and we're going through the various malachas which are to be on Shabbos. Avos malachas abayim chasa'achas. So there are 39, and we will now count them. Ha'achoresh, one who plows. Hazarel, one who sows. Ha'koitzer, one who reaps. Amer, one who gathers the crop where it falls into one place. Hadash, one who threshes. V'hazorah is the winnowing, either in the wind to remove the mites. Remember the Yerushalmi's got different shittahs on Hazorah. Habayrer, winnowing. Habayrer, separating bad from good. V'hatochen, and one who grinds. V'maraked is the sieving. Halosh, one who kneads flour in water. Ha'ofer, one who bakes. Ha'goizes is hasemer, is shearing the wool from an animal. V'lavna is washing it. Manapasai is separating the strands which have got tangled together. Hasoivai, one who dyes it. Hatoveu, one who makes threads out of it, spins of threads. Masechet is preparing the threads for weaving, right? For the loom, preparing the threads. Is inserting the threads into holes within the loom. Right, one who weaves the two threads together, and one who takes apart. Notice in Yerushalmi it's not poitseah, but it's boitseah. You're removing the extra threads where they're too close together. You're taking out some of them. Ha'kosher, one who ties a knot. V'mati, one who undoes a knot. And one who does two stitches. V'korea, when it tears a garment. Again, it's got to be constructed. So on a condition to sew two stitches where the tear is. Hazad Savi, which is hunting an animal. Hashachta is slaughtering, Bamashita and skinning it. Hamocha is tanning the leather. Hamochakai is smoothing out the skin by removing the hair. Bama'abdai and tanning it. So mocha was like pickling before as a preparation for tanning. Now it's proper tanning. Hamachatchai, one who cuts it to size in different strips. Ha'kosef is one who writes two letters, and also one who rubs out writing. Again, in order the intention to write two letters. So is building and demolition for the sake of construction elsewhere. Putting out a fire and making a fire. And the final hammer blow with the malacha. And taking an item from one domain to the other. These are the 39 malachas. Okay. It says 39. How do you know these are the obvious in the Torah? They correspond to where's the idea of 39? They correspond 39 references to the word malacha in the Torah. Right? The word malacha is mentioned 39 times. Malacha, etc. The main limud is from the Mishkan. Otherwise, how do you know what's a malacha and what isn't? So they obviously learned it from the Mishkan. But the number, the wording malacha in the Torah, they learned to forbid malachas. That's why they learned, don't start adding more things that were in the Mishkan. Okay? Now the word malacha is mentioned many more times than 39. So obviously not every reference to malacha is included in this calculation. There's Rabbeinu Chananel, Tosis Yom Tov, Yefei Naim, okay, Netzach Yisrael. There's all different as to which malachas we're referring to, because it occurs many more times. Now, Bai Kumei, Rabbi Achakolen, Yosim Malachos. It's wherever the word malachos in plural is mentioned. Did they treat that as shtayim? Is that treated as two? Or is it only counted as one? Rabbi Acha checked everywhere. He checked the whole Torah. But he didn't find anywhere it was written like that. So really there's no question. One thing you can ask, now the Russian malacha with Yosef in the house of Paro, to do his work. Is that one of them? It doesn't really mean work necessarily, maybe it's not included. And what about so he finished his work that he was done. So since for Hashem it doesn't mean proper malacha, is it minhen, is it from them or not? The Gemara doesn't actually answer these questions. That brings a brisa about the drasha about other things. Tell you of Shemay Chai. Sheishet Yamim, 6 days Hachamatzah. So Yom HaShvi and the 7th day outside Hashem. Like mustn't do work. Let's ask Malacha. That's the pasuk which is mentioned Malacha. That's the last one. That's in over there in Re'eh. Harei Zebala Hashlim. That finishes the number above Chasa'achas Malachos 14, 39 Malachos which are mentioned in the Torah. Rabbi Yosef Ribun Shevishmor Ben Nachmani. He says the number 39. Keneged Abayim Chasa'achas Pam Shekas Mishkan Avodah and Malacha. There's a reference to in the Mishkan Avodah and Malacha 39 times. So it's Avodah and Malacha in reference to the Mishkan. Only those Lashonos mentioned the Mishkan, right? But we add the word Avodah as well. Lashon Maaseh as well. Whenever it says Maaseh or Malacha or Avodah is 39, and they go through them in the list here. Maaseh Choshev, Maaseh Reiken, Maaseh Choshev, Maaseh Avos, etc., etc. Now, now the Torah says about the Malachas, these are the things which Hashem commanded you to do. So it's in plural. There's extra wording here. So it could have said Dava or Divrei. It says Devarim. So this is how we get 39. Right? We're adding Dvarim. Not like the Bavli, which has got Eila and so on. No, it's not Had Dvarim. That's Bavli. Yerushalmi doesn't have that. He says the extra wording, the idea of Chalukas Isur to Avos Malachos. We're not necessarily getting the word 39 from here. We're learning Avos and Toldos. Okay. Rav Chanina, this depends from Rav Bavo. He said the word Eila tells you Aleph is Chad, is 1, Lamed is Tlas, is 30, and Hey is another Chamisha, is 5. And so therefore you have 36, and you add the word Hadvarim, because Davar is another 1, and Dvarim is another 2. So that's what's another trace. So 1 and 2 and the 35 is 38. Yes, that's right. It's 38. Usually, Dvarim is 2. Here, we could add a letter and say Divrei. It says Dvarim. So there's 2 extra letters to add another 2. So in the end, so Dvarim is 3 then.
Yeah, so we're saying that Dovid is Chad and Dvarim is Chaim.
Yeah. Together with 35, Eila is 36 and another 3. That's it. Eila is 36, and then you got 1 and 2. Yeah, Divrei, and which one around is it? Davar is 1, Dvarim is 2, and we had 36 before, so that's 39. No, from its place. From the word Eila itself, you can learn the thing. Why? Because Aleph is Chad, Lamed is Tlas is 30, and Ches. No, it doesn't say Ches, it's got a Hey. But it's Ches, is Tzmani is 8, makes 39. And Lam is Manin Rabban Darshan Ben Hey Ches. The Chachamim were not refraining from darshaning Hey for Ches and Ches for Hey, because they're close in pronunciation, although a Het is a Het and a Hey is a Hey, but still, and if you can darshan the Hey like a Het. Rav Yachar Shlakish Avdin Have Pahad Pirkat Darshanin of Vlog. They were discussing this Masechet Klal Gadol 3.5 years. They brought out through their pilpul 39 talados for each malacha. When they found a source for it to support it to one of the others, they supported it to that av, and they said this is its talda. When they never found a support to an av, they said, you know what, it's a talda makim patish, which means a completion. Anything which is not included in the other malachas and it's a completion, it's included in the malacha of makim patish. Right? Any ma'aser which is a gemar malacha. It's a gemar malacha, like gemar malachas toifa, gemar malachas boina. It's not included makim patish. Sometimes they're told of toifa or boina. But a ma'aser which is not connected with the other malachas, and it's a gemar malacha bekeli, then it's told of makim patish. Some say any action that's considered a malacha on Shabbos, they found an av similar to it, which is Talda, but Maisa they didn't find a dimyan in the office malachas, they said it's a Talda of Makim and Patish. Okay, let's carry on. But no, they were learning the Masechta 6 months. After when they brought through their pilpul 6 things, which are also for each one of the others. The the children of Reb Chia Gadol went in the view of Reb Chia, their father, in the following bride, said, the Tana Reb Chia, HaKoitzer, was cutting crops, HaBoitzer is cutting grapes, HaMoisek is olives, HaGoidein is dates, HaToilev is attaching fruit, HaOra is figs, Kulen Meshum Koitzer. They're all under Melachas Koitzer. There are 6 things that are awesome because of Melachas Koitzer. Like his children who said they had 6 things which are awesome. Rav Sidu, Yehuda Berebi, Avdin, Avmachshirin, Shiti Yarchin. Yehuda Berebi Nasha, right, so they were, Yehuda Berebi, they dashed in Masechet Machshirin for 6 months. But Seif Asachat Tamid in Jerusalem, Tamid came from Shemai, V'shayle, and he came, he asked Yehuda about the Masechet of La Give, he didn't answer him, he didn't know the answer. You know what? If he can't give this answer, it's as if he's not begun learning. Even the 6 months of limud is not enough. 39. Laida Mila. For what purpose was the mission telling you the total of these malachos is 39? We mentioned all. We know they're 39. She must have couldn't bear them. You did one period of forgetfulness. You didn't find out in between. Chaim kalachas va'achas. Yeah, you chaim for each one. 39, like the malachos. Okay. If you know Eker Shabbos, you do all these malachas, you chayav for each malacha. Now, what about, instead of doing malachas, you chayav for each malacha? What about one who serves Avodah Zarah b'shogeg? So he did various avodas, right? Offering an animal, or anointing, incense, or wine, b'shogeg, for Avodah Zarah. In one period of halama, chayav akol achas, you chayav on each one. So you do all these 3 jobs, in one period of forgetfulness, you're chayav for each one with Avodah Zarah. You've gone 3 rivers to go out to Eretz Yisrael, and you've gone all this bother, but you've made a mistake. You do the 3 things together, you only chayav 1. Now, Rabbi Baba Mama by Kumad Rav Zira, he asked before Rav Zira, you should be chayav on each one. Just like we say, you shouldn't do any work. That's a klal. You can't do any malachas. Elsewhere we find is singled out. Don't make a fire. That's prat. That's specific. Now havara was anyway included in the general malachas. But it came to be singled out. Why? Just like havara is unique. There is like a single malacha, and you're chayav on it for chayavin olah b'fnei atzma. Avkol masa sheyesh by any ma'isa which includes the isur le'tasika malacha, you're chayav on its own. They're chayav olah b'fnei atzma. Right? Even if you do it with one of the other malachas, kol adav shetzman, kol lamed, so basically you're chayav Shabbos chatos each malacha you do. So here as well, Avodah Zarah, we should say. Later of day, generally, don't serve, klal, that's a klal. You can't do any work. And then he said, the beginning of the pasuk says, don't bow down. And that's the specific, prat. The Torah specified bowing down. But anyway, it's included later of day, so why single it out? It's a single action, you're chayav on its own. If you do it even with other avodas, you're chayav on its own. Of course, masa sheyesh ba chayav olav b'fnei. So any deed you do, you're chayav on each one. So why are you telling me you're doing all these 3 things? You only chayav 1 chatzos for avodah zarah. You should be chayav for all of them, huh?
They could have bought this raya.
Yeah, you should be chayav. Well, put avodah zarah here. So we've got this drasha that kol masa, just like havara is singled out, but you're chayav on its own. It teaches everything. So avodah zarah, you do one thing on its own. You should be chayav on each and everything. Amalei, Rav Zira answered back. The Shabbos, haklal b'makamacha, b'makamacha. But the terrorists don't do work. Klal, Pashas Yisrael. Don't make a fire, Pashas V'yakal. So that prat teaches the klal. It's singled out elsewhere, it teaches the klal. However, of Avodah Zarah, klal shul b'tzad prat. In Avodah Zarah, the klal, later avdim, and the prat, don't bow down, are in the same pasuk. It's one matter. So it can't be yotzam in a klal to teach on the klal because it's in the same pasuk. We have a lav elsewhere, don't bow down. So klal b'makom echad, it says later avdim in one place, uprat b'makom echad, letishtach ve'elacher is elsewhere. And therefore we should have learned that this pasuk will be like yotzam in a klal to teach on the klal. He says, Kiven she'einat loimed. If you're not learning from the prat which is mentioned mitzido next to the cloud, if you're not learning from that lo tishtachve mentioned right next to lo avdeim, afilu mokem acha, even lo tishtachve le'el acha which is elsewhere, at lamed, you cannot learn it. The Torah put the prat next to the cloud to tell you don't darshan davar shiyatzim min haklal lelamed, even from a prat which is elsewhere. Yeah, even from prat which is elsewhere, don't darshan it. Now the Talmidei Chachamim answer the question of Rabbi Mamo. Why do we not say lo tishtachve will teach on the cloud? They gave a different answer. They said, Lo Shani, there's no difference between Sheklal B'Mokem Echad and Prat B'Mokem Echad. Look, is the Prat elsewhere? No difference. Between Sheklal and Prat B'Mokem Echad. Well, the Prat is right next door. Both cases, Klal Pratu. It's Klal Prat. And it's Dav Shoyah Min HaKlal, and it came out of the cloud to teach on the cloud. And not like Rabbi said, no. But there's another difference between the Psukim mentioned with Shabbos to that mentioned with Avodah Zarah. But the Shabbos, first it says cloud, don't do any work. And then it says don't light fire. Whereas by Avodah Zarah, prat, machach cloud. First it says don't bow down, and then it says don't worship. So the prat is mentioned first. We don't darshan davar shiyatzim in a cloud because the prat was said before the cloud. You can't say it's yatzim in a cloud because it's mentioned before the cloud. Rabbi Yossi, another answer. He said, Lo Shan is no difference. Ben Sheklar Machach Prat, if the Prat comes later, Ben Sheklar Machach, or the Prat comes first. No difference. It's Klal Pratu. You can teach it as Klal Prat. And Yosman Aklal, Laman Aklal. But he says there's another difference between Shabbos and Avodah Zarah, because the Shabbos, Klal B'Avodasa, or Prat B'Avodasa. The Klal says don't do work. The Prat says don't make a fire. The same Issa Malach on Shabbos, so it's Yosman Aklal, teaches in the Klal. But Avodah Zarah, Klal B'Avodasa, the Klal is with Avodah, or Prat B'Melachas Gavaya. The Klal and Prat are talking about two different types of Avodah. The Klal says don't worship. That's Avodah, which you'll do for Avodah Zarah. The Prat with Avodah Zarah is bowing down, which is a malacha you would do for Hashem. You would bow down to Hashem. It's one of the Avodas you do in the Shem Hashem in the Beis Hamikdash. It's not proper Avodah, but nevertheless it's the way of cover to do it in the Beis Hamikdash. And these avodas are from Malachas Gavaya. When they're doing for Avodah Zarah, Yochaiv, even is not the way to serve like this. And since the Prat is not the same type of klal, as we said, it's for serving Hashem, therefore it's not considered Yotzim and a klal to teach on the klal. So that was answer number 3. Now we have answer number 4. It says, actually, when Shabbos we mentioned don't light fire, that wasn't needed at all. It said light Havara is extra, because Havara is included, don't do Malacha. So I don't need it. That's why it's Yatzim and a cloud to teach on the cloud. But Avodah Zarah, I need to tell you bang down. To tell you, it's not extra, it's needed for itself. The even bowing for Avodah Zarah is asul. Even though it's not like a Maisa like other Avodah, which are done in the Mikdash. Bowing down is not Avodah bifnim. I might have thought you're not chayav when it's done for Avodah Zarah. Since it's needed for itself, we don't dash and it does Yatzim and a cloud. Asya, Kahida Tani Chizkiah. And this Braisa, what the support to Ramona is like what Chizkiah learned. It says, Zavech Lelahim Yachoram, one who serves for idols will be uprooted, Yachoram, will be excommunicated. Yasa Zvicha Lelamed Alaklal. That Zvicha, slaughtering, was included in all things don't serve. But it got singled out that any avodah which is done in the Beis Mikdash, you're chayav when you do it for Avodah Zarah, even when it's not the derech. Vishtachava, and bowing down also came out of Yotzim HaKlal. So lelamed alatzma she'eina maaseh, to tell you that you're chayav, even though it's not an act of avodas pnim, even though you're chayav when it's done for Avodah Zarah. Oy chaylev. Maybe we should say that bowing down is to teach on the klal. Anything you usually do b'fnim, you're chayav when you do it for Avodah Zarah. And slaughtering, maybe it's teaching itself, it's lachalek. Maybe you're chayav v'chatas when only when you do it with other avodas. Maybe, yeah, who says you have to do chayav of doing all the 3 together? Maybe, one second. Anything which you do b'fnim, maybe you're chayav when you do it for Avodah Zarah. And maybe Zvicha is telling itself lechalek, yeah. Maybe you're chayav on Zvicha, chatas on its own. Not only if you do it with the other things, maybe you're chayav chatas on its own. You slaughter or you pour wine for Avodah Zarah. Maybe each one, you're chayav chatas, right? So the Gemara answers, Davashu Maaseh, something like slaughtering, which is avodah in the Beis Mikdash, Melamed teaches me the klal. That anything similar to that, is chayav. Davar she'ena masa, like bowing down, is not proper avoda. Eina melamed. It doesn't tell you about the klal. Right? It needed to tell me about itself. You're chayav on bowing down, even though it's not a proper avoda. And that's like Ramada said, since bowing is not a ma'asav avoda, we need a pasuk to tell you you're chayav. So we cannot apply that and learn that for elsewhere. Now, Rav Yirmiyah asked Ramada, on Shabbos, we didn't need loisavara Aisha, we didn't need that. So it's Dash and Davish Yotzim in our cloud to teach me everything else, because I didn't need it. No, I need to mention not light to fire. So the court shouldn't judge corporal cases on Shabbos. They shouldn't kill someone who needs to be killed by Beis Din. What's the source of this? Never kind of says in all your dwellings. But when you kill the murderer, it says it will be lechukas mishpat ledaratechem b'chal moshevatechem in all your dwellings. And we have Gzeir Shava, mamash v'techem shneim la'alam. Just like with the Beis Din killing someone, but dinner because we're talking about court. Af moshevatechem shneim kan the issue of making a fire, but dinner because we're talking about court. It's also to make a fire on Shabbos even for the sake of killing someone. There's no mitzvah on Beis Din to kill someone. It doesn't push away Shabbos, right? So the pasuk lo tavaru is needed for itself. So how can he say it's going to tell me about everything else? It's needed for itself. Since you're telling me it's needed for itself, it's if it's not needed. What's this? Once you tell me that tzarech yatsa is needed, as if it's not needed. Basically, is havara is excluded. It was included in don't do malacha. The Torah sing it out. Yeah, there's a reason why we need it. To tell you Beis Din can't break Shabbos. But it's still davash yatzim and aklal shaloi letzarech. It can still teach you for everything else. Because at the end of the day, it was in the klal, and it came out of the klal. It's not the same as bowing down Shiyatzim and aklal for a purpose, the tzorech. I needed the shtachva. I needed to tell you bowing down.
It's also a raya that you can't call a
How's it raya? We're saying no.
Because it's excluded.
We need it. 1 minute. We need it for itself. That Beis Din can't kill someone on Shabbos. But he's saying even so, even though I need it for another reason, it can still be a cloud to teach me everything. Now he says why? Now why is it different to bowing down? Bowing down I need for itself. I can't apply to anything else. It's not the same. It's not the same as bowing down. Because bowing down was needed for itself. Had it not been written, it wouldn't be included in avodah, which you're chayav. So it's not something which is shayu b'chlal v'yatzim and klal. Therefore, it doesn't teach on the klal. So bowing down, I needed it for itself. But havara, although it's singled out, I didn't need it for himself. Adam, this tells me. Look, now we're going to extend it here. Let's see. If you have something singled out, l'tzorech, and you needed to single it out, eina cholek, you can't start telling me that with the klal you're chayav on each prat on its own. Right? You can't learn from that. The fact that it's singled out. Yeah? You cannot apply that. Now, exactly what the connection is. You can't apply that to say you should be chayav on each thing on its own. But if, however, it's not needed at all, then cholek. If something's yasim and a klal and it wasn't needed, it tells me with the klal you're chayav on each prat on its own. Now, shnei dvarim yasim and a klal. So what about two things singled out? And I don't need them. Are we going to treat it as yatzim and a klal to teach me out the klal that you're chayav on each prat in its own? Or maybe since there are two things which are, maybe they're not melamed on the klal. Two things usually are just teach for themselves. We don't teach them for the klal. So he's asking now, two things are singled out. Should we apply that to everything else to say a chayav on its own? We learn from the following. It says in the Brisa, the issue to put on the mizbeach bits of the karbonos which are meant to be eaten. You got meat from a chatas, b'sar asham, b'sar kochim, and b'sar kochim kalim, like shlamim. And ma'isa ha'ayma, the leftovers of the minchas ha'ayma, which is eaten by the Cohen. Shnei ha'lechem, the 2 loaves on Shavuos, v'lechem upon him. V'shiyorim menachos, the leftovers of the flour offerings, minas ha'ayma and the vash, things which are possible for a carbon. If you put any of these on the mizbeach, over below sasa, you overlap, taman loima, kichas over chadash. Let's active menu ishal Hashem. We learn ishal Hashem. Sheyesh menu leishim. Any carbon where you put part of it on the mizbeach, on the fire, and there is from that korban a bit put on the Mizbeach, and the other bits are eaten, you're not allowed to put it on the Mizbeach. If you put it on the Mizbeach, you're over a loisa. And the Gemara brings the discussion which there was between Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Elazar shar Rabbi Yochanan, v'yetzu shtei alechem, v'lamdu al kodshim lekeves. Now, kevesh. Now, shtei alechem, the 2 loaves on Shavuos, and bikurim, they should teach us about all other kodshim, about the din on the camp, on the ramp as well. Ka'adonatani. Now we got a brisa. It says, a korban you have to bring, and you mustn't put it on the Mizbeach. So and devash you can't put on the Mizbeach. You can bring them when they're korban reishis. You can bring the 2 loaves of Shavuos. Now, even though they are chometz, you can bring bikurim from the Shivas Aminim, even though some of it is dvash, date honey, you can't put it on the Mizbeach. So if Ela Mizbeach, you mustn't put the Mizbeach. Eli Ela Mizbeach. Okay, I know you can't put it on the Mizbeach. Minay Ela Rav Zakevesh. How do you know you can't put it on the ramp? No, can't go on the Mizbeach. Even the ramp. You may say maybe you're chayav on serving avodah of shalei avodah, even if you do it not for the sake of korbanos. Should be chayav for that? No. It's only when you're doing it for the right reasons, right? If you do it on the reach nechayach. So you see the 2 loaves and the bikurim, you're over allowed if you bring them not only on the Mizbeach, but even if you put them on the ramp. Other parts of korbanos, where you can't put them on the Mizbeach, we don't find your chayiv if you put them on the ramp. So Rabbi Elazar asked, why don't we say, Shtei Alechem Bikurim have come out, Yotzim and HaKlal, of all kodshim, which can be eaten, that you can't offer them, and let's teach on the klal, your chayiv, on all bits which are eaten when you put them on the ramp. Just like these 2 are chayiv on the ramp, let's say everything you're chayiv on the ramp. But he says, Oisam, the pasuk says, Oisam, miut, only these. Eilu, Shtei Alechem Bikurim, Chayovin Alei Lekevesh. These ones you're chayiv, you put them on the ramp. But other things are not chayiv, you put it on the ramp. Now, 2 things singled out. Does it teach on the cloud? Now, what we can work out is Masechet Shabbos Daf, because it was Oisam to exclude, we say Lechem and Bikurim don't teach on the cloud. Had it not said that, Melamdin, we would apply their din for the cloud, even though there are 2 things that have been singled out. Adama, this tells me Shnei Dvarim Shiyotzim and HaKlal, that now we're going to take it further and not only say 2 things can teach us about the cloud, but Chalkin. There's a new din. It teaches us about the klal, that you're chayav on each thing on its own. You hear that? It's an extension there. You're chayav on each thing on its own. Then melamdin on the klal lechalek, to be chayav on each prat on its own. Rav Chanani of Reit of Hillel, he said it could be 2 things coming out of the klal lachalek and chalkin. No, who says you're chayav on each one on its own? Yeah, you can apply the din. I understand had it not said Oisam, I would have learned the Shtei Alechem Bikurim about the ramp. 2 things come out of the cloud, teach me on the cloud. But it could be they're not cholek. Who says that we learn the Yochayv on each prat on its own and we'll divide out the chalek? Who says that? Yeah, maybe only if 1 thing is singled out, not if 2 are singled out. Rabbi Yosef Ribun, la makim. He didn't say like this, Gersa. The Gemara brought a raya from Rabbi Yochanan. The 2 things Yosef and Aklal are cholkin. Rabbi Chanani and Rabbi Hillel pushed away the raya, so they're not cholek. Ella, he says this was the sugya. Rabbi Elazar shal Rabbi Yochanan. He asked like this: Look, 2 loaves should teach me that all kodshim you must put it on the ramp. Rabbi Yochanan said, no, only those. These you have to put them on the ramp. Nothing else is chayav you put it on the ramp. So it tells me that look, if 1 thing is singled out, but there's a reason why it's singled out, that can't tell me that everything is chayav on its own. But if it wasn't needed, then cholek. Yes, it can tell me that each thing singled out is chayav on its own. But when 2 things are singled out, they do not tell me that each thing you're chayav on its own. Right? So it wasn't Rav Hanania who said this, but the Gemara itself is saying this thing, that 2 Dvarim Yosef and Aklal melamdin, so we'll apply the din, but it doesn't mean that everything else you're chayav each on its own. Now the Gemara brings another opinion, who holds Shnei Dvarim Yosef and Aklal, we actually learn each thing on its own, you're chayav as well. But Rabbi Shmuel, cholkin. According to Rishmal, Shnei Dvarim Yotzim Min HaKlal, not only they teach on the klal, but they divide everything. They say Yachav on each thing. D'amri Bun Bachia, Divrei Rishmal, Shnei Dvarim Yotzim Min HaKlal, Chalkin. It teaches you Yachav on each thing. The Torah Rishmal, the Torah says Lo T'nachashu V'lo T'ainenu. Yeah, not to do dividing, etc. And they're very similar. They're included in witchcraft. Why are they singled out? Just like Chaim Malkus on Nichosh on his own and Inun on his own. So each one has got a lab miyuchad. Chaim on each prat of Kishuv Malkus on its own. And Nichosh and Inun are two things Yotzim and Klal, and even so they are chokin to say Chaim on each one. Klal b'hikares or prat b'hikares. What happens? You have a klal with kares. Like, the Torah says a kares avera, one who does many lavin. And in one place the Torah singled out a punishment, a single event where it says it's kares. Mil said Rav Yechon Amra, from Rav Yechon we can learn is that klal pratu, that the prat comes from the klal, teaches out the klal, to be mechayev chiyuvei separate chiyuvei krisus. One who the over b'shoigeg b'halamachad is chayev various chatois. Anyone who does any of these things, they'll be cut off. Right? Now, Achaisai was included, is one of the arroyas mentioned in the Parsha. But Yasamin Aklal is singled out. There's special kares, but Achaisai, but it's singled out. He says a man who will take Achaisai, Basavi, Bazimai, etc., Chesed, who they'll cut off. Now this prat, lechilu kalaklal, to tell me you're chayav on each one of the other averas which are mentioned in the whole parsha. So even when the klal is kares and the prat is klal of prat, say it again. Even when the klal is kares and the prat is kares, it's a single case of achaisai prat and it's kares, it's still considered klal of prat, and the prat teaches me about the klal. But each one on its own, you're chayav. It says, Ever of a mother sister and a father sister. Yeshare Hera, Avana Misol, the Torah finishes off. The Torah talks about Kores, even with a father sister and a mother sister. Why are these arise? Why are they singled out? He says that there's a reason why they're there. Lidon Ba'aroya, to say even Hara, which is the initial entry, is also Chayev. Yeshare Hera. It says in the pasuk, Yechav even on Hara, which is a beer, which is not a beer for any Gemara. Now it's telling you that all Hara is Yechav even by Hara. Amalei says, Valkisibish, Shishkav Zisha Dava. Now the third person is with a niddah, Megillah Sebasas Mekara Hera, and it says they're cut off. So again, the term mentions Kares with a niddah. Why was it singled out? We know that Hara is Kares. Amalei says the Tzarchias, it was needed for itself. Niddah both Ma'arek Igoyma. That one who does hara is like a gemabia. Since the chiyuv is because of tumah, it's not like other harayas where the issue is family related. No, it's a tumah aspect. Therefore, it's more lenient. But we will not treat an initial avera like a proper avera. That's why it needs to say that there's chiyuv kares even on the hara as well. Amalei says, which is an avera of an aunt. They'll bear the sin, they get aririm yamusu, right? The Torah mentioned kares with an aunt. Now this aunt is the father's brother's wife. Why is it singled out to have kares? Amalei says the tzarchas, it was needed for itself. Litan ba'ariri, to tell you, the one who's ba'al dadasa gets kares, not only himself, but also he'll have no children as well, right? And it says aririm yamusu. That's why the Torah mentions the punishment. But does it not say there it says basically the term mentions kares with the brother's wife. Why mention it? Why single it out? It was needed for itself. That he'll die without children. Kares of Dedos is Sarim Yamusu. Now the different expressions here. When it says Arim you, it means Havian Belay Banim. That means they will be without children. If they didn't have children, they're not going to have new children. And all their days will be Arim like they are now. But where it says Arim Yamusu, it means in the time of Avera they had children, they will be Kovinus Benan. They will be burying their children. Yeah. Now we come back to the Torah singing about Kores with the aunt. The aunt is the wife of the father's brother. Now he will have Ariri. There's another limud by Kores with the aunt. On Rav Yosef, Doidas and Etzach Yosef. We needed to mention with Doida, with the aunt. Lemai, to exclude Eshes Ached Me'imoi. If it's a brother only on the mother's side, his wife is not the same. You don't get the same punishment like he gets about Eshes Ached Me'aviv. But on the mother's side, it's not the same. And that's learned from the Doidasa, because Nema Kan Doidasa, it says here Doidasa V'nemen, I learn. Now in the Parsha of an Eved Ivri who's sold to a Nochri, and the people, the family will redeem him. Who are the connected family? It's the father's side that are the connected family. Just like the father, the uncle that will redeem him, it's Achi Aviv Me Aviv, it's on the father's side the redeemer, after it does it, so where it's a Kares, the aunt is on the father's side. And also the brother's wife, which is next to the Pasha of Doidasa, which is also Kares. Lemeida Doidasa is also learned from the aunt, because they're compared, they're right next to each other. Just like the aunt is Aviv, it's the wife of the brother, who's a brother on the father's side. It's not talking about the wife of the brother or the father from the mother. So it's not about an aunt on the mother's side. So also the brother's wife, again, it's talking about the brother's side, the father's side. The wife of a brother who is a brother on the father's side. The one who is with her is Kares and Ariri, and not Eshes Achim Me'imoi. And that's why Doidasa is brought out and singled out to tell you Gzer Shava to exclude Eshes Achi Aviv, so not the wife of a father's brother, so that an uncle's wife, but when it's on the mother's side, not an uncle on the mother's side. And also to put next together the Einish Kares to the punishment of a Baal Eshes Achiv, to teach you not knowing Eshes Achiv Me'imoi. Okay. Ad Gadon, until now, we can say Krubba Kiva, who holds elsewhere. Now he holds elsewhere. You learn one thing from another. Something learned with the Gzer Shava, you can go and learn it again. So Doidasa is learned from Gzer Shava from Doidai. There's only Eshes Achi Aviv Me'aviv on the father's side, and can go on to teach a brother's wife, again, Eshes Achi Me'aviv, to teach something else. It's learned from Gzer Shava, it can teach something else. But Yishmael, who holds that you can't learn Lamed bin Lamed, you can't learn one drush from another, and so Gzer Shava, you can't go and learn it elsewhere. How does he know that Eshes Achi Me'imoi is not the same? The Tani Yishmael, we see, Nema Kan says Eshes Achi, brother's wife, Nema Alon, it says, a person who takes his brother's wife, Nida, Ma Nida Yeshla Heter Achi Surah. And Nida will become a time when she's permitted to her husband. There will come a time when the brother's wife will be permitted to her husband, Melvin. Yeshla Heter Achi Surah. There are some times, if the brother dies without children, then it will be permitted to him. Yasa Eshes Achid Me'imai, as opposed to the brother's wife on the mother's side, She'ein La Heter Achi Surah. There's no Heter there at all. Or Rabbi Yochanan, Magshela, just to see, is there anywhere? We're trying to get to, we'll get to 2 dots. Rabbi Yochanan, Magshela, Manan Taisila. Now, Rabbi Lazar, he asked Rabbi Yochanan all these questions, and he says you can't learn prats from Kores to be Mechalek on the cloud. How do you know that Mechalek, all Chivei Kores or Ari, they have Chatos on each, Aver on his own? Rabbi Lazar, Shem Rabbi Shia. When the Torah has Shnei Lavin, if there's 2 Lavin and 1 Kores, the Lavin Cholkin Kresis, then since there are many Surim on 2 Lavin, it tells me the Kores as well could go on each one. You even any of the 2 Surim B'Shoigeg, there'll be 2 Chataris. Ma'atam, what's this? Where do we see this? It says, Abasar Adam, this is the anointing oil, right? You mustn't put it on a person. You mustn't make that whole concoction, right? You can't anoint it, you can't make it. It says, anyone who does, he gets Kores. Shnei Lavin, 2 Lavin, not to anoint and not to make. But Kores Achas, 1 reference to Kores. Lavin Cholkin Kores. The Lavin divide up the Kores. They teach us each one of these Surim, there's a separate Kores. One is over the shaking on both, he brings 2 Chatais. So also Kores of Arayos, Each of one of the Yisur Arayos has got a separate lav. The lavin divide up the kares. Then the Gemara says, "Ma'avale Rav Yochanan." What does Rav Yochanan do with this drasha? If the lavin divide up the kares, why does he need to learn the creases from achoisa? Achoisa is included from other arayos. Why is achoisa singled out? He says, the separate lavin with all the Yisur Arayos are said with the men who are with the women. All the lavin are in lashon zacha, they're in male. But there is no separate lavin for the women. They're also doing Yisur. So therefore, you might have thought for the women, there's only one kares on all the Yisurim. Achoise comes to tell me, to divide the kares for all the women, each one of the Yisurim has got a separate kares. When last Rav Elazar came, does Rav Elazar not hold this? Where does he know that you divide the creases even for the women? Islay, of course he holds of it. But the Torah says, Lo tikravu, don't come close to Galas Erva, Lashon Rabim tikravu, Echad Ish, Echad Isha, for men and women, they're both including the lav arayos. Each one of the lav in separate is the arayos, includes the woman as well, the lav in divide up the kares for all the aver. Ma'avile Rav Yochanan. What's Rav Yochanan to do with this drasha? Does he not agree that Lo tikravu is going on the women as well? He explains the pasuk Lo tikravu like Rav Elazar, and he says, yeah, the woman is included in the lav and arayos. But this is not right pshat. It's not mamash mefurish in the pasuk. So you can't learn from the separate lavin to be dividing up the creases for the women as well. Because the lavin weren't said clearly on the women, they were said on the men. But alright, now the one brings another raya that when there's klal with kares and prat with kares, it's called klal and prat. Vayit bin Hada, from the following. Shmuel bar Abba, by Kum Rav Zira, he asked before Zira, V'yetzu shlamim, v'yachleiku al kol kachim l'tumah. Right. So, the Torah says, kares on a tummy person who ate kachim. And yet the Torah singles it out with shlamim, that one who eats it gets kares. So we should learn that shlamim should be singled out to divide the kares with all kachim, to tell me Chaim kares on each one of kachim. So shlamim should teach me on each kachim Chaim kares. So he answered, no. Why not? L'tzorech. Yeah, so shlamim was needed to be singled out. Lemaides kachim bedek habayis. To exclude kachim bedek habayis, shalayu chayom lam shom pigul nois v'tameh. Right? Treasury fund, korbanos, whatever it is, there's no pigul nois and tameh. Just like shlamim is on the mizbeach, the kares mentioned with kachim is kachim mizbeach, but not treasury fund, where one who eats his tummy does not get kares. There's no pigul, there's no noisa. They happen to bring something on the mizbeach, whatever. And since you need shlamim to be exceptional to tell me this din, we cannot learn it lechalek, on all the other yisurim. So from the question is muchach that klal in kares and a prat in kares is treated like a klal of prat, and it teaches me on the klal to divide all the creases. The Gemara says, "V'leimas nisahi." But is this not Mishnah? I mean, we see from the Mishnah that korbanos are chaluk as far as kares eating them b'tumah. One second. They're not chaluk. They're not chaluk as far as eating them. I mean, you eat them while you're chayav. What was the shaila of Shmuel bar Abba? We've learned to Me'ilah. Kodshei mizbeach. Right? Various korbanos. Mitzarfin zem zed Me'ilah. If you ate by mistake half a share one carbon, half a share another carbon, they join up. You're chayav Me'ilah. U'lechayav alen, and you can get kares and malchus mishum pigul or noisa or tameh. You ate half as nice a pigul or noisa from one carbon, half as nice from another one, they join up. However, with the bedek habayis stuff, there's no pigul, no noisa, and you're not chayav on eating it with tumah. So you see, the various korbanos do join to be chayav kares mishum tumah. And the given Chaim is starving, and since they do join up, are you going to tell me that they are cholkin? Now you can't start saying you're chayav a different is on each one because they're joining up. So you can't tell me they're all separate to be chayav an is on each one. Now this again. Some say this has been a chusa. Since they're mistarif, they're definitely not chaylik. Okay, he wants to say whether the gifts are here. Kivan Chaim is starving. The gifts I've got. Are you going to tell me they're chalkin? No, they won't be chaylik. They will. They won't sort of say that each one on its own will be a separate issur. They all join up. It's like one issur. So they're not going to be a separate issur. So if you ate b'shoigeg b'tumah from various korbanos, a whole share, there's only one carbon. So what was the question of Shmuel bar Abba? Amrochanina, v'keini. This was the question of Shmuel bar Abba. V'yachleiku v'lo yistarfu. Basically, they should divide up, but they shouldn't join up. So he didn't have a doubt if they are chaylik. His question was on that Mishnah, why do we say they join up? And huadin, they don't, they're not chaylik. Adarabah, we should say that shlamim should tell me about all kodshim in a state of tumah, that each one on its own you can be chayav, and that they shouldn't join up the tumah at all. And Rav Zira answered him, no, shlamim is needed for a purpose. He wants to learn a whole drosha out from shlamim, and he answered back, you can't, because it's needed for itself. He says here, this is again, so Vekeni, this was the question, he didn't have a suffix if they're choylek. No, the question is, why is it they're misarif? And really, they're not choylek. Basically, we should have said, shlamim should tell me about all kodshim b'tumah, just like shlamim b'tumah, they're all kodshim. They shouldn't join together, they shouldn't join. And he answered back, well, actually, shlamim can't tell me that because I need it for itself. Okay. To be continued, Rabbi Sai.